Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. I am your host, Jason Spears, and Colt fans, we've got a lot to talk about. This is Culture Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, here with a preview of the AFC and NFC championship games, and also answering a few questions, a quick Q&A. I will definitely be doing a lot more Colt-centric content going forward after obviously the Super Bowl, but before then as well. More Q&As, talking about who we should keep, who we should let go, all that kind of stuff. So don't think I've forgotten about the Colts, because I absolutely have not. So for now, I am going to get into the preview here of the AFC and NFC championship games. And unfortunately for the Denver Broncos, they lost their starting quarterback to a pretty devastating broken leg. I think it was on the second to last play of the game. So they are going to have to go with backup Jarrett Stidham, who was with New England and I think a couple other teams, going into this game at home against New England, but both of them had really solid wins. Denver really played well, I thought, against Buffalo. I thought Buffalo would have the edge, but I thought Bo Nix played a much cleaner game, and I think the better team won. You just cannot turn the ball over 5 times in a game and expect to win in that situation. And I thought they got the call right at the end of the game. I know a lot of people disagree, but they were fighting for the ball. He never had clear possession. He didn't possess it through the ground. I just thought it was the right call. So, moving on to this, and New England, obviously, C.J. Stroud was horrendous, and they took advantage of that. The Houston defense was outstanding, as I expected it to be, and you can't play that bad as a quarterback and expect to win the game. And so New England played well enough to win. They move on, and now it's New England and Denver for the right to go to the Super Bowl that takes place in Santa Clara this year. So here's the deal. I mean, obviously, I like New England in this game, specifically because Drake May is a clear advantage over Stidham. But I will say this. I do think Sean Payton, if anyone can draw up something to keep this team in the game, I do think it's him. I think it's a 4.5-point spread for New England right now. I think it's going to be a relatively close game. I do think that the Broncos are going to try to allow Stidham to manage the game, keep the down and distance manageable, try to establish the run, not turn the ball over, and I think that's doable. It reminds me of the Colts Seattle game. It's just like they had the perfect game plan and it still wasn't enough. And I think that could be the case here with Denver. They could roll out the perfect game plan, do everything right, not turn the ball over, and probably still lose this game. The difference is Denver has a far superior defense to the Colts when they went into Seattle, although the Colts played perhaps their best defensive game in years in that game. They were really good except for the last drive. So, but anyway, back to the game. So I really like New England in this game. Obviously, most people do. I do think they're going to keep it close. Denver, it's at home. I think the crowd will be into it. I think they're going to try to manage the game a little differently with Stidham at quarterback. But in the end, I just think, Drake May is just a really good young player, and New England's defense is playing well, and I just don't think Denver has enough to win this game. I'm going to take New England I think they cover. I think they win it by 7, but I do think it's a relatively close game. But I mean, when you're talking about an uber pressurized situation for a quarterback that's not played really at all this year to go into and then go on against a to me, probably the team playing the best and the AFC, and that quarterback and that coach, they're well coached. I mean, it's just a lot to ask. So as much as it pains me to say it, I am going to take New England in this game. I'm going to say 27-20. Now, the really fun matchup of the weekend is the NFC Championship, which will be the Los Angeles Rams coming off an incredible overtime win over the Bears. I just thought they made plays down the stretch and did a great job. Got a pick in overtime, went down, got the field goal, and won the game. And it was a really great game. Honestly, it was an outstanding game. And then Seattle, who just destroyed San Francisco. I didn't expect it to be like that. I did think Seattle would win, but I thought it would be a lot closer. But it was a mismatch from the word go. So in this game, this is a heavyweight fight. They've played twice, and the outcomes were decided by a total of 3 points. The last game was only a few weeks ago. I want to say like 4 weeks ago, and Seattle won 38-37. And in the earlier game, LA won 21-19. So I think this is going to be a real. I mean, look, Seattle is balling. They're playing as good. Actually, they're playing better than anybody. They're just. I mean, that game against San Francisco, they just destroyed San Francisco. Very rarely have I seen San Francisco look like that. So they are playing very, very good football, and that was a divisional game, which usually those games are closer, but they're just dominating. But this is different. This is Matt Stafford. This is the Rams. This is Nakua. This is, Sean McVay. I think this is going to be a really, really fun game. I give the edge to Seattle. They are a 2.5-point favorite, but I think this one's going to be a field goal game. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams upset Seattle. I really wouldn't. Only because they know each other so well. They've played. This will be their third time. There's no intimidation about going into Seattle. They went into Seattle and damn near won the last time, lost by a single point. So there's not going to be any of that. And I just think Stafford, I mean, he's playing really, really well. And I just think it's going to be a great game. This is the one I don't want to miss. This is going to be a fun game. Just a great coaching matchup. I think both teams are as well coached as there are in the league. Seattle with Darnold and their receiving core and their ability to run the ball, their defense, their secondary, their pass rush against McVay and that offense. And then now the defense is coming on and playing pretty well, forcing turnovers. This is the game, man. I think the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl. I really do. I also hope that, too. To be fair, I'm biased. I do hope the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl. But I also think that the winner of this game will win the Super Bowl. So, but, man, it's tough to bet against Stafford. But going into Seattle, I'm going to take the Seahawks by a field goal, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams won. This is just one of those heavyweight fights, man. This is kind of what I expected. I expected the NFC Championship to probably be basically an NFC West Championship again, like their second NFC Championship. Like they had the regular season one, now they're having the playoff one, because it's been the best division. I mean, obviously outside of Arizona, the entire year. These teams are all, even San Francisco, beat up as they were, really, really good team. It's really the AFC West Championship as the NFC Championship. So I like Seattle in this game. I think it's going to be close, like I said, but I wouldn't be shocked either way. It's going to be a fun matchup. I think all these games, not really. I think New England can turn the ball over and probably still beat Denver unless they're for touchdowns in the first game. Because there's much wider margin for error in that game, I think. But in this game, there's certainly not that. So I think this one's probably going to come down to turnovers and who turns the ball over more. I mean, the Rams forced some turnovers against Caleb, so I mean it's going to be interesting to see which team that is. But for me, I'm gonna go with the home team in this one, and Seattle just being the 12th man and having all that. I'm just gonna give them a slight edge. And so for me, I think that sets up an interesting Super Bowl, a rematch of a Super Bowl in which one of the most interesting and probably dumbest calls with the New England Seattle when they threw that route to who were they? Was it Baldwin when it was like first and goal from the 1 or 2 or whatever? I mean that's a Marshawn Lynch 4 times for me type situation, but that's just me. Pete Carroll had different ideas, and Russell Wilson threw a pick. So, but that's what I'm looking at, another New England Seattle matchup. And yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. But we'll see what happens this weekend. Again, New England at Denver, 3 p.m. CBS. New England a 4.5 point favorite right now, and that's odds by DraftKings. And then LA Rams at Seattle, 6:30 p.m. Fox. Line Seahawks by 2.5. Again, I like the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks to advance to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara in 2 weeks from Sunday. So with that being said, to wrap it up, I'm going to get into a couple of questions that I got asked on Twitter. I'm not going to do a really long Q&A here, but I got a couple responses. And friend of the show, Brett Larson, asked actually a few questions. First, who will we hire as the D-line coach? I think it's either going to be Matt Raish because he's been there forever and they could just slide him into the full-time defensive line coach, or it's going to be somebody from Lou's coaching kind of stops where he's been. And I haven't, I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't really studied Lou's stops. I know he's in Miami and obviously Cincinnati. I would guess it's going to be somebody that he's familiar with, and I'm sure he'll work with Steichen and Ballard on that. To somebody that I guess they're comfortable with. I would prefer they hire the best one possible because I really think we need the best D-line coach possible because our D-line, especially edge, has been a troublesome spot no matter who's been here as the D-line coach, whether it's been Baker or Partridge or whoever. It's been an issue as far as like getting to the quarterback. So my hope is they hire the best guy for the job. My guess is it'll either be Raish or somebody that Lou is familiar with. Possible OC replacements if JBC leaves. Again, I think they'll go with familiarity here. They've got Alex Tanney in the building. Tom Manning, the tight ends coach. I think those would probably be the two guys inside the building that they looked at. If they went outside the building, I would look at Steichen guys that were there with Steichen, whether it's been in San Diego or Philly. So maybe somebody like Brian Johnson, Kevin Patullo, but the shine is off with him. I don't think I would want him. Again, I'm a proponent of bringing in somebody that one is scheme familiar. So whether it's D-line or OC, like scheme familiar, so a fit scheme wise, but also somebody that's the best. I want the best hire. I don't want the convenient hire. So again, I haven't dug deep on the replacements or the schematic fits, but I would guess Tanney or Manning if you're talking about inside the organization, and outside Brian Johnson or Kevin Patullo. Again, my hope is that they go further than that, find schematic fits in the best coach that fits that. That's what I would do because I'm about winning, having the best coaching staff possible to relay the message, teach the game, teach the schemes to the players. I think that is the best case scenario. So I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth of what I would do and what they're going to probably do. But if you're asking me what they're going to do with D-line, I think it's probably going to be Raish or somebody in the Lou tree of coaches, D-line coaches, and then OC replacements. It'll be somebody Steichen's familiar with, whether that's Tanny, Manning, somebody like that, possibly Sperano Jr. I don't know, or the Philly Patullo stuff, but I would honestly rather them just find the best guy. Let's see. Any draft picks that are day one stars? Well, this is a tough question because I have no idea who's going to be there at 47. I think that's where we're picking. But I definitely do think there are going to be players that will be available that are going to be day one starters. I do think there are going to be picks in this draft, especially linebacker, that are going to be day one starters. The one thing Chris Ballard's been really good at is identifying linebacker talent. That is one thing he's been really good at. I do think they're going to find a couple of day one starters. I'll tell you this, if Messidor is available at 47, the edge from Miami, I don't care. I'm taking him. And just starting him day one, opposite Olatu. I just think Messidor is a really good player, and I think he would help us immediately. And I just think there's a lot of guys I like in this draft that I think could start from day one. It's all about being able to identify talent that fits your schematic plan. So I think you're going to see them look for, especially defensively. I know I'm talking a lot of defense, but that's where we need the most help, in my opinion. I think you're going to be looking for speed. This defense is old and slow. I think you're going to be looking for speed at linebacker. A guy like I'm trying to think who I like. Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. There's a lot of guys, but the point is he's not my favorite linebacker in the draft. If I could have any linebacker, it'd be Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles is a monster. I wish we could get him, but he is going to be long gone. But my point is, I think you're looking for schematic fits, speed, and I do think you're going to find some starters. I don't know how many that will be, but I do think you're going to find one or two for sure. And then thoughts on the Combine staying in Indy. I think the Combine should always be in Indy, honestly. I think the one thing Indianapolis does a really good job of, whether it's the Final Four, the Combine, Super Bowl, they know everything is condensed in the city. It's very easy to get to. It's such a convenient place to do it. I just love it. I think it should stay there as long as possible because it's just a perfect setup for everybody, right? And that's not me being a homer. I just think it's a perfect setup for the media, for the people. I mean, there's hotels around. It's in the city. I mean, it's just a perfect setup. So I'm really glad they're keeping it there. Goodell just can't leave good things alone. So I'm expecting him to move it at some point. I know they're there for at least one more year. But I just think Indy's the spot. That's a perfect spot to have it, and I wish they would just sign a 5 or 10 year deal to keep it there because that's where it belongs. It's just so much easier, convenient. It's been there forever, and I think everyone is okay with that. I don't think most people have an issue with that as far as other organizations. If you polled other organizations, I would guess they would probably like it to stay in Indy as well. So, just my opinion, and also obviously it helps out financially having all those people coming into town and whatnot. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Combine staying in Indianapolis. Say that 6 times fast. Let's see, and then I have one more question here from Colts Muse. Based on your opinion and insight, what do you think the Colts do with Anthony Richardson? It's funny. At the end of the year, before the Ballard presser and all that stuff, I still thought, okay, I think they're going to just run it back with the same group because that's what they usually do. But after hearing Ballard's presser and just the overall vibe of the organization, the way they clearly feel about Riley Leonard. I just think they're going to try to trade him. I don't know what you're going to realistically get for him, but I think they're going to move on. I still do think Anthony Richardson has a chance. I think he needs to get with the right coaching staff. Maybe, the Rams. Maybe you trade him to the Rams, or maybe you trade him to the Vikings. Somebody like that. I do think somebody has a key to unlock this guy. I really believe that. It just wasn't the Colts. And the way they handled him from the beginning, in my opinion, was not right. They threw him out there as a starter. They kind of, I don't know. I feel like they treated him differently than everybody else, which I didn't love. They bench him, but they let other guys that play poorly. They don't ever get benched. I didn't like how they treated him. I still like him, the player and the person. But after all the garbage that went on last year, it was very hard for me to see him succeeding in Indianapolis with this regime. And once he was benched, I thought his days of starting were probably over here, which if he wouldn't have gotten that crazy injury, they wouldn't have been. And who knows what happens then? Maybe he goes on a run, and who knows? But it wasn't to be. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. And again, like I've said this from the beginning, even when I was on the Anthony Richardson bandwagon and really defending him, at the end of the day, if you can't stay healthy, none of the rest of the stuff really matters. It's the best of it, ability is availability. He simply hasn't had it, whether it's been in high school, college, or the pros. He just cannot stay healthy. Whether it's crazy injuries with, weights when you're working out, or shoulder injury, ankle injury. He has not been able to stay healthy. And then, I'm not even talking about the eye injury, which clearly hasn't healed. He couldn't take snaps the last, when his window opened up, he couldn't take, shotgun snap. He couldn't see the ball. That's very concerning. His career could be over. I don't know if you're even going to get anything for him unless he is given a clean bill of health, and that's concerning. Like, not on a, what are we going to get for him level. I'm talking about Anthony Richardson, the guy. Like, I just want him to be healthy and be able to live a normal life. That's scary when you're talking about eyesight. You know what I mean? It's a big part of life. You need to be able to see. So, all that put together, I can't see him back with the Colts. Hopefully he gets healthy, his eyesight returns, and he can have a change of scenery. I think it'll do him well to go somewhere else and get under another, staff's tutelage. Hopefully a good offensive staff. I don't wish any ill will towards him. I know a lot of people dislike him because he failed here, but he's never done anything illegal as far as I know, and he's not a bad guy. It just hasn't worked out. So obviously my opinion has changed. I think he's probably gone. I don't know whether that'll be a release or a trade. I'm hoping it's a trade because that will mean that he's healthy, and really that's all I want for the kid. I want him to be able to stay healthy. So that's my long-winded way of saying that I do not think Anthony Richardson will be a Colt come, I guess, September of 2026. I think he will be dealt at some point in the offseason or just outright released. So I appreciate the questions from you guys. I am going to do a legit Q&A next week where you guys can ask about the draft, the roster, the personnel, what I want to see happen. I saw Lou Anarumo is getting another interview for the Bills job. I would be shocked if he got a head coaching job. That would be a really unmitigated disaster for the Colts, because I don't know what they would do if they lost him, because he would take all of their defensive coaches, I think, unless you promote like Chris Hewitt or somebody like that to DC, which I don't know what they would do in that case. Because I think he would probably take all of his defensive guys with him. That would be worst case scenario because there's like 50 staffs right now looking for coordinators and coaches, and people are looking at our guys, and that would just be a disaster because who knows who we would end up with and if he would fit any of our personnel, and you're starting over with another scheme. I think if that did happen, I think they would obviously hire somebody that runs something similar to him and try to build on what Lou did this year, but hopefully that doesn't happen. I do want to see Lou get a job at some point. I don't think this is the year for it. So we'll see what happens. The Bills, in my opinion, they really screwed up. I mean, McDermott, I don't think he's like Vince Lombardi, but he's a very good coach. They hadn't been to the playoffs in I don't know how long, and I think they've been to the playoffs like 8 years in a row with him or something like that. That's a GM scapegoat job over there. I definitely think that the general manager should have been fired and not McDermott. If you look at their roster, it's not great. It's really, Josh Allen be Superman and go win these games. And I don't think their GM's done a very good job. Bean, I thought he should have been fired, but that's another team's problem. I just thinking about that, I just thought that was a stupid firing. I had really no reason for it, no need for it, but we've got bigger, and their organization looks dysfunctional. If you watch that Pagula Bean thing, that was train wreck city. But this is a Colts podcast. I only mention that because Lou is a candidate there, getting interviewed there. But and Saleh got hired in Tennessee. Out of the guys that I thought they could hire, the three. I mean, I think it's insane that the three guys they came up with, or their finalists, were Matt Nagy, Saleh, and I forget who the third one was. But you fired your coach like halfway through the year, and those were the three guys you came up with. I mean, Saleh's a good defensive coach. I'm not sold on him as a head coach. He's got a terrible record, but so does pretty much everybody that's coached the Jets. I'll be interested to see who they hire as a OC. Now, if they get a legit OC in there, they're going to be a problem. But I'm not too worried about that hire. I thought they could have done better. So, just my opinion. But with that being said, guys, leave your comments. Who do you like to go to the Super Bowl? Are you Patriots, Broncos, Seahawks, Rams? Who do you like to go to the Super Bowl? Who do you think wins this weekend? I'd love to hear your opinion. Not many people have watched these previews, but I've actually had a lot of fun doing them because it gets me outside of my comfort zone of just talking Colts and really just talking overall NFL ball, which is always fun. So let me know your thoughts on who you like this weekend, and if you have any questions going forward, I'll be glad to answer those. I'm going to go back over the past few pods and write the questions down and come out with a Q&A sometime this next week, all right? So I hope everybody is ready for this snowstorm if you're on the East Coast. I am definitely going to get hit with snow here where I'm at, so I'm really excited about shoveling. Just kidding. Everybody hates shoveling, but if you're in the areas getting hit by snow, take care of yourself, be careful, and I hope everybody enjoys the weekend, enjoy the football, and I will be back soon with another edition of Culture Uncut. I've been your host, Jason Spears. Take care, everybody.